everyone, and welcome back to We Talk Football. I'm Lance Leach.
I'm Brian Wagner.
And this is our first video, so if you're if you're listening to this on podcast, go check out the video on our website, wetalkfootball.org. Also, be sure to like us on our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter.
You can also now, because we're making a video, follow us on YouTube. Might actually have put up some goodies here and there. We have something down the line here that I think everyone will like. Come the April timeframe.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Also, you can check us out on SoundCloud, as you said earlier, and on iTunes.
And we're going to start off like normal with our week in review. So if you want to kick us off here.
I will take it first. I'm going to discuss the Bills and Jets game and the Steelers and the Browns game. Bills and the Jets game. I'm going to have to blame you on this one. The Jets, he said last week, he's surprised they haven't collapsed yet. Guess what? They collapsed. They collapsed pretty bad. Their last three drives ended in picks. One of the second pick, can't really blame on Fitzpatrick. He got hit as he threw it, but still nonetheless, they collapsed. They lost again to the Bills with a score of 22-17. That's what the final was the first time they faced this year. But because the Jets lost, the Jets were a win-and-in situation. The Steelers needed a win and a Jets loss. The Jets lost. They finished their game before the Steelers game was over. So if you were watching the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers game, you heard everyone cheering for the Steelers because it just came overhead that the Jets lost. Steelers had a chance to win. And I think at that point the game was basically over anyways.
Yeah, it was pretty much sealed.
So that allowed the Steelers to clinch their playoff berth. The next game we had was the Dolphins and Patriots. Patriots went in this week having a chance to clinch the number 1 seed. They failed to do so, and they failed pretty bad too against I would say a subpar Dolphins squad.
Very disappointing.
There was no reason they should have lost that game. Tom Brady was held to, I believe, a career low 21 passes, minus his injury that he had in 2007, where he got hit the first play of the game. But then he suffered a sprained ankle too. You don't want your franchise getting a sprained ankle. He got Ndamukong Suh rolled up on top of him. He got pushed, cleaned. Everyone's crying foul, but it was a clean hit. And yeah, that's I think the big take. They could have clinched the number 1 seed. They still had a chance to clinch the number 1 seed had Denver lost, but he'll get into that in a second. My last game I had was the Chiefs and the Raiders. The Chiefs, nothing really else to play for. They could have won the division had Denver lost. Denver didn't lose, but the Chiefs continued their impressive win streak. They're the only ones now on a significant win streak. They're at 10 wins now. I think that's huge going into the playoffs, where they gotta pick it up. They don't get a bye. They got to keep rolling. They're going to keep doing them.
Yeah, very big deal. Which takes us into Denver, who barely squeaked past San Diego. It actually could have been worse. They brought Peyton Manning in. He allowed the offense to open up by changing plays at the line, the thing that he's done best for his entire career, and I don't think we'll ever see anybody else that does it like he does.
No. And like I think you said earlier, he passed for he made 6 completions, 60 yards or something like that. But their run game completely opened up because he's able to point out the blitzes, find out who's covering who.
It's true, and it allowed Denver to take the 1 seed away from New England and give them home field advantage throughout the playoffs, provided they continue to win. And then you got Houston destroying Jacksonville. Houston's defense has looked phenomenal as of late. 3 weeks ago, they were playing Indianapolis. Matt Hasselbeck beat up. They held them to 10 points. Not all that impressive. Then the following week, they held the Marcus Mariota-less Titans to 6 points. But this week, they managed to take that strong young offense that we've seen in Jacksonville and only allow 6 points total from them as well. And so Texans defense heating up at the right time. Houston looks good going into the playoffs. And then the Seahawks thumped the Cardinals. And I mean thumped. That
was embarrassing. They should have pulled their starters at halftime.
I don't understand what happened there. Seattle looks really good, worries me as a Vikings fan. But we'll get into that in a little while. Which brings us into the Vikings. They took out the Packers at Lambeau. I picked against Minnesota. Maybe that's what I had to do. That's why they got the win.
Minnesota was able to stop a surging Packers there at the end to win it for them.
And it gave the Vikings their first division championship since 2009, and also gave them the 3 seed So they have a home game. The board back here, by the way, is the layout of the playoffs. You just can't see it very well from the video. Next up, we have our congratulations. You don't have one this week,
I've got nothing.
so I will do my congratulations. Congratulations to Washington. You went up 24-0 in the game, and then sat your starters. And as I alluded to last week, I expected to see Robert Griffin III put in. I expected to see a little bit of him, so they could have a little bit more film for the people that they'll try to trade him to. But they didn't start him. Colt McCoy went in. So obviously they shouldn't keep him. So they'd have to pay him to sit on the bench and cause controversy with Kirk Cousins. The second Kirk Cousins messes up, they're going to end up saying, "Oh, RG3 needs to go in." There's no point in that. He needs to go. So if they were planning on cutting him, though, why did they hang on to him all season? You're still paying him. They would have cut him loose already. So I think what they're trying to do is trade him, but if they were going to trade him, then why wouldn't they play him in this game? It would have given them, the teams a chance to see something else rather than the last play they saw, which was in preseason where he fumbled and then dove on the ball and hurt himself. Not a very good last impression for people to have in their minds. At most, I would give up a 6th-round pick for him, but I don't know. They could have maybe helped to stock up a little bit. So that's my congratulations. Now we can go into facts and opinions, where we're going to take, for the next, 4 weeks, we're going to take, for this week, we're going to go 1 through 5, pick 1 through 5 for the draft. We're going to take one team from that area and explain who we think they should take. And then next week it'll be 6 through 10 and 11 through 15 and so on. So I have the Titans. You have the Jaguars. You want to start out?
It's all you, number 1.
All right, number 1, Tennessee. They have the number 1 pick. It's a very popular opinion right now that Joey Bosa of Ohio State is going to end up going number 1. It's supposed to be the top talent going into this draft. I don't know if I can agree or disagree with that. I want to see what happens at the combine. I want to, see some film on all the players. But Tennessee runs a 3-4, and Bosa's a little undersized to be playing defensive end in a 3-4, which would mean he'd have to play outside linebacker. Another reason why I'd like to see what he does at the combine. I want to see what his 40 time is. Is he even going to have the speed or the strength to play either one of those positions? But if you look at Tennessee, their outside linebackers are pretty stacked. Starters are Brian Orakpo and Derek Morgan, who they both signed to 4-year contracts, not cheap deals either. So why would you go out if you're the number 1 team picking in the draft? You don't have the luxury of going and taking a guy that's a top talent. You need to fill holes. Don't go draft the best available. You need to go get somebody who's going to fill a need. And so if I'm Tennessee, I'm going after the number 1 wide receiver in the draft, Laquan Treadwell. Kendall Wright looked good going into, playing out throughout the season up until he got hurt. Looked pretty good. Dorial Green-Beckham started to flash the talent that he brings, but he's still, raw. Needs to have some more time, which means that they need a true number 1 receiver for that shiny new franchise quarterback that they have over there.
Mostly shiny new.
Yeah, mostly shiny new. So the 6'2" Laquan Treadwell, wide receiver out of Ole Miss, that's who I think they should take. And not necessarily with the number 1 pick. They might be able to drop down to 4 with Dallas. Dallas could use defensive line help, allow them to move up, take Joey Bosa, allow Joey Bosa to play in a 4-3 like he's accustomed to, defensive end. And then they could take, gather some more picks for this team that I don't think desperately needs help, but more picks could definitely help them out. And if they did take the receiver, take him number 1 overall, it'd be only the 3rd time since the official draft in 1976, the common draft. It'd only be the 3rd time, and the first time since 1996 when Keyshawn Johnson went number 1 overall. So, I like Laquan Treadwell of Tennessee.
All right, you got number 1. I've got number 5. I'm going with who I think the Jags need to draft. In previous years, this last year, they drafted at number 3 Dante Fowler from Florida. We didn't get to see him play at all this year. I believe tore his ACL in spring training, was it? I don't even think he made it to training camp. But luckily, the Jags, they liked what they saw in him, so locked him with a huge 4-year contract.
Max that they could give him.
2014, at number 3 again, they drafted Blake Bortles from Central Florida. Comment on that here in a second. But he doesn't need any explanation. I think this second year, he's He's growing big. This Jags offense is going to be huge. I think they've got the right pieces. They just need to grow a little more, get a little more time under their belts, passing with each other, running. They got Yeldon this past year as well. When he comes back healthy, their offense is going to be scary. Where I think they need to help, I think they need to help in the secondary. I think if they had Dante Fowler this year, it would have helped their secondary a bit. Having a pass rush, their pass rush was kind of stagnant this year. We didn't get as much push from them, which allowed opposing quarterbacks to sit back, drop dimes on their secondary all day. I think they need to go at number 5 with Vernon Hargreaves from Florida. Jacksonville likes their Florida boys. 33 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, no picks, 4 interceptions. That may seem low, 4 interceptions here. Number 5 cornerback. No one wants to throw his way. The fact that he's got those 4 picks themselves is impressive. No one throws to him.
I agree.
So I think there.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so now we're going into our weekly picks. There's only 4 games to pick for this week, and Ethan is currently asleep. We ran a little late getting started, as you can see above this whiteboard. It's pretty dark out.
We're also in Minnesota. It gets dark here by about 5 o'clock.
That's true. So we'll get his picks out to you via the articles that we post on our page, so keep an eye out for that. Start off with the Houston-Kansas City game. Both these teams have been hot. Houston's 7-2 in the last 9 games. Kansas City's won 10 straight. Both their defenses have looked spectacular. They both have young cornerbacks drafted this last year. Kevin Johnson, Marcus Peters.
He's a top defensive rookie of the year candidate.
Absolutely. But I'm going to go with Houston. I think Kansas City's streak has got to come to an end at some point. And with the way Houston's defense has been playing, J.J. Watt got 3 sacks last week, just showing that he really, really wants this. And I think they can get this first win in week 1. So I'm going with Houston.
I'm going to take Kansas City in this one. I don't think their streak's going to end here, especially not against Houston. Both have got really good defenses. But for this side, you're going to have to look at the offenses. I like Kansas City's offense over Houston's offense. And having to go against these defenses, I think Kansas City will get just that little bit more on Houston's defense than Houston can on Kansas City's defense. Next, we've got the Pittsburgh and Cincinnati game. My wife is going to kill me, but I have to take Pitt over Cincy. I know Pittsburgh, they've been, the past month, they've just been really inconsistent. But I had just... Ben Roethlisberger versus A.J. McCarron. If Andy Dalton was back, it'd be a different story. I'd be picking Cincinnati, but I can't.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I'm going to take Cincinnati, not because I'm afraid Adrian will kill me, but because I feel like Cincinnati has the total package. Their whole team is one solid mass. A.J. McCarron doesn't have to do a lot to get this victory because Pittsburgh's defense has been awful as of late. And Big Ben has looked, questionable. He threw for like 350 passing yards last week, but he also threw 2 picks to the Browns, to Cleveland. So I like Cincinnati. I like their defense. I like their receiving core. I like that Tyler Eifert's healthy again. I think that they can get through this week and allow Andy Dalton to come back next week. I'm going with Cincinnati.
I'm going to sit on Pitt for this one now. D'Angelo's banged up. Yeah, I think he suffered a sprained ankle. It came back, nothing severe, no torn ligaments, no fractures, anything like that. I guess we'll see how he is day to day. That could be the deciding factor.
Okay. Next up, Seattle at Minnesota. Yes. Minnesota, definitely my team. They looked great. They looked great last week against Green Bay. They're healthy finally again on defense. They weren't healthy when they played Seattle originally, which did help lead to the blowout. But Seattle, this is their time. This is when they showed up the last 2 seasons, and this is when they're showing up again this season. They're 6-1, I think, in their last 7 games. It's December and January and February if they get that far.
Look how they are in the last 2, playoffs.
Yeah, and this is when they win, and so I can't pick against Seattle. In fact, I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm going to have to go with Seattle.
I'm taking Seattle too. I think they learned a lot about especially the Vikings. Yeah, they're getting some key defensive players back, but they're getting some key players back too. Beast Mode's coming back, and this is the time he shows up as well. I know there's some people that think, oh, we don't need Marshawn, but you got to remember, Marshawn's been playing hurt all year. They didn't find out about this hernia until halfway through the season. He's been having groin pain since preseason was. If he had gotten that sorted out before he got the surgery, got healthy and all that, I think we'd be singing a different tune about Marshawn. But now he's healthy, got that surgery, he's repaired. I think he's going to be a man on a mission. So I'm taking Seattle. And then we have Washington and Green Bay game. I can't pick Green Bay. I can't pick Green Bay. You never know who's going to show up. Kirk Cousins, the Redskins. I'm sorry, but Green Bay, they need to figure something out. They need offseason to come now. It's done.
When I was originally writing down who I was going to pick for this game, I was going to go with Green Bay. And then I talked myself out of it in the process of trying to pick Green Bay. Like, I was sitting there talking about, Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked like Aaron Rodgers, and this offense is not running the way that it normally does because of it. And Washington's 6-2 at home, and they're playing in Washington. The thing that goes for Green Bay is the fact that Washington hasn't beat a team with a winning record all season long. So, that could work in Green Bay's favor, but I don't think it's really going to matter. Kirk Cousins is on fire. Jordan Reed is on fire. And he's the hottest tight end going into the playoffs.
Deshaun has the speed to get behind anyone on that secondary.
And that defense is playing really well, too. They started out really well, kind of tapered off towards the middle, and then they picked it back up as of late.
I think that Dallas game they lost at home, I think that was a turning point for the Redskins there.
I got to go with Washington. Yeah. And the point that I was going to make is that, it's very common for people to take the quarterback that has more experience in the playoffs, but in 3 of my games, I'm taking the quarterback that doesn't. The only one that I am taking is Russell Wilson with Seattle. So we'll see. Maybe it's a little changing of the guard here.
Nice to see. I'm getting tired of all the same teams in the playoffs every year.
All right, so back here we got our board. You're going to be able to see this in a minute when we pull it up closer to you after we finish writing on this.
We'll also take a picture of it. It'll be up on the page or on our website. It'll be on Facebook, at Twitter. You'll be able to see it. So
the way we're going to do this is they all have their seating they're written down with their names next to it originally, but from the point that we take them out, we're just going to write the number to help show who we're taking. So we've got Cincinnati. I've got Cincinnati against New England over here. Houston against Denver. Seattle against Carolina. And Washington against Arizona. Now, the way the playoff seeding works, for those of you who don't actually know, if you're a lower seed, such as Seattle being ranked 6th, if Seattle wins, they will play the 1 seed because they're the lowest ranked seed, so the 1 automatically faces the lower ranked seed. Now, if Minnesota wins, then they go to Arizona, and then the winner of the Washington-Green Bay game would go to Carolina. And that's how it works in the AFC as well. So that's how I've got mine set up right now. I've got Cincinnati against New England, Houston against Denver, Washington against Arizona, and Seattle against Carolina.
My AFC, as I just said, I'm going to have Pittsburgh at Denver. I'm going to have Kansas City here at New England. I'm going to take Seattle here at Carolina. That'll be a fun game we'll touch on here in a second. I'm going to have Washington here at Arizona.
All right, so start with the AFC.
Start with the AFC.
All right, Cincinnati at New England. It's Tom Brady's area of expertise, right? The playoffs. But look at what just happened in New England. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it was an anomaly, but I don't think it was. I think that New England has had its moments of struggling this season. They've looked like they're human for once. And
say it ain't so.
I know, right? With everything that's going on, they're saying Andy Dalton will be back if Cincinnati can make it to this point. And with the way Andy Dalton was playing with that offense and the way that defense has been playing, I'm taking Cincinnati to beat New England in the event that this game actually happens. So, take them on out here.
Unfortunately, that game's not going to happen. It's going to be Kansas City at New England. And like you touched on before, New England's looked insanely human this year. Don't know how Tom Brady's injury is going to play. If he's truly hurt, he set out the last drive, I think mostly because of his foot hurting. I mean, I'm sure everyone here saw the press conference when he was coming down using the wall to clutch off. I think there's a little more some that obviously we're not going to find out about until game day. I'm going to take Kansas City. I think if he truly is hurt, they're, like I've been saying the last few weeks, that front seven, they're going to be getting through there. They're been hitting him. He's going to be hurting. I got to take Kansas City at this one.
All right. Next game, we got Houston. I've got Houston at Denver. Brian Hoyer, Houston's defense, love it. It's been great. But I can't go against Denver in this game. That defense is, was, I can't say still is. They had some problems there at the end. But that defense was number one for a reason. They were that good, and they still are that good. And Houston's only real weapon on offense is DeAndre Hopkins. You take him away, that offense is shut down. Denver just has to put up, 10, 13, 17 points, and they get the victory. So I'm going with Denver.
My game is going to be Pittsburgh at Denver, but I'm saying the same thing. Like I said, Pittsburgh, they've looked pretty inconsistent. I think they'll squeak by Cincinnati just due to the quarterback differences. But I don't think Big Ben's going to get past this defense. I think with Manning coming, if I'm predicting Manning's going to be the starter here, just the playoffs. This is more than likely.
Even with what Big Ben did to Denver's defense the first time?
Yes. I'm going to say because of how inconsistent they've been since that game. Okay. They haven't. When have they really showed up? The Browns started coming back to them. The first half of that game, it was. I'd say it was Browns' ball. I mean, the score says different, but the Browns held them in check pretty well.
Well, luckily we won't see that.
No, we won't see that. But no, I'm going to take Denver in this one. I think that this team's going to have a different fire to them. This is more than likely Manning's last season, and they're not going to let him be one and done in the playoffs. Not this time.
All right, well, let's finish out the AFC. For me, it would be Cincinnati at Denver. So Denver's home field advantage comes to an advantage for them because they actually make it out to here. However, like I said, I really like Andy Dalton. I really like Cincinnati. I like that they have a complete team. There are very few holes that you can actually find with them. So I got to go with Cincinnati. Cincinnati goes to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 80s. I couldn't give you an exact year, so I'm not going to even try.
I got Kansas City at Denver. Nothing I think is greater than an NFC conference game with two division rivals. Wait until the NFC. But we got Kansas City, we got Denver. These two teams, I think they tied on the season.
I think they split 1-1, yeah.
Yeah, I think they split 1-1. I think the records were about the same. Kansas City had a chance to win the division. I think this is going to be a great game. I like Kansas City's defense better than Denver's defense, especially as of late. There's nothing more I can say. I think Kansas City is going to take it, go to the Super Bowl for the first time since.
Oh yeah, that's a good one to look up. All right, moving down to the NFC. We have the same matchups, so this will be fun. Washington at Arizona. Like I've been saying for a couple weeks now, Arizona is the team to beat in the NFC. Regardless of what Seattle did to them last week, I call fluke. I still say Arizona is the team to beat in the NFC. And, well, after I cover the next game, Seattle will have to prove it.
I like to think that game was a fluke, too. I think Arizona took the gas off the pedal. It was the last game of the year. I think at halftime they definitely should have rested their starters. They shouldn't have had everyone in there trying, risk getting hurt, especially at the point that game was when it was. Definitely Arizona at home over Washington. Arizona's defense is top tier compared to what Washington's got going. Like you said, Washington hasn't faced anyone with a winning record.
No, they haven't beat anyone.
They haven't beat anyone with a winning record. Excuse me.
Yeah.
They're not going to beat one this time. Arizona.
So that brings us to our last game in the playoffs, which is Seattle at Carolina for both of us. I've already covered Seattle pretty well, I think. They, show up in December, January. This is their time. So I'm going to cover Carolina real quick. Number one in the NFC, number one in the NFL record-wise, 15-1. But they played 4 winning teams. 4 teams with winning records. I should say. They played Seattle when Seattle wasn't themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They played Green Bay when they went into that slump where they lost to both Chicago and Detroit in Lambeau. And if you look at it, Green Bay hasn't been themselves.
Not at all.
They beat Washington, who, as we covered earlier, hasn't beat a team with a winning record all season. And they beat Houston, who has gone through 4 different quarterbacks now. And not to mention, when they played Houston, I'm pretty sure it was before their 7-2 streak. It was before they flipped that switch and turned everything on. So they haven't played anyone of significance except Seattle, and this is Seattle's time. Seattle's going to come out in this game, knowing that they lost to them already, on fire, and I think they're going to run through Carolina. So I'm taking Seattle.
I'm going to take Seattle too. Seattle's defense, like you said, they were going through that slump. They couldn't stop anyone. They couldn't catch a cold if they wanted to. I don't think Marshawn Lynch was in that game. So like I said with the Vikings game, they're going to have Lynch back. Have that Minnesota game knock the rust off. Beast Mode is going to be bowling through these defenders like it's nothing. So I'm going to take Seattle in this one. All these Carolina haters are going to come out of the woodworks on us on this one, but I'm sorry, the facts are the facts.
Which takes us to our NFC Championship. Arizona at Seattle, or Seattle at Arizona, for both of us. Seattle just got done destroying Arizona, but I still like Arizona. I still really like Arizona. Carson Palmer is having an MVP season. Fitzgerald is having a revival, or just a huge resurgence. And then Michael Floyd has looked good as of late. John Brown has stepped up in his second year. The running game, David Johnson, the rookie, Chris Johnson goes down, David Johnson comes in and just explodes.
Next man up.
They're too much. Their biggest weakness is their offensive line. So if Seattle is going to get this done, they got to get to Palmer. But I'm picking Arizona. Arizona's going to the Super Bowl. That's my choice.
I'm picking Arizona too. Week 17 was a fluke. Calling it now. They got blown out. I think they lost themselves mentally. They're like, we can take this back. We already beat them once. We have basically everything locked up. Yeah, they're still playing the same time as Carolina, but that game was already over before halftime. They probably already knew it. They weren't going to get that number 1 seed, so they couldn't have gone anywhere else. They took their foot off the gas. They lost their mindset. I think it was a reality check for them. I think that was a perfect time to get a reality check instead of being one and done in the playoffs. Get that loss out of the way, and they're going to steam right through this. I'm picking Arizona.
So now we're on to the Super Bowl. For those of you watching and listening, this is the only week that we're going to do the actual bracket all the way out. From here on, we're just going to do the games each week and pick our winners that way. The Super Bowl. I have Cincinnati playing Arizona. I really like both these teams. Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton, Larry Fitzgerald, AJ Green, Tyler Eifert. But then you go over to Arizona, you got David Johnson. The running game for Cincinnati has been iffy. Sometimes Jeremy Hill shows up, sometimes he doesn't. Then you got Cincinnati's defense and Arizona's defense, both of them at the top. The cornerbacks, Patrick Peterson and Leon Hall, the way D'Angelo has been playing, right? No, that's not his name. Pac-Man Jones. I don't know where I was going with that. The way Adam Jones has been playing, he's stepped it up. Even the return game, especially. Reggie Nelson tied with Marcus Peters for the lead in interceptions. That's all in Cincinnati. And then you go over to Arizona, where Dwight Freeney has, been used in pass rushing situations, and it's helped him stay in longer because of his age. You wouldn't expect it, but when he goes in, he is just a motor, just nonstop, keep going.
Should call it Teddy Bridgewater.
Exactly. And then Calais Campbell, the big defensive end. God, I love both of these teams a lot. But I'm going to go with Cincinnati. It might sound weird. I've been saying Arizona's the team to beat. But I think if Dalton comes back and plays the way that he has been playing, Cincinnati is going to be the team that takes it.
I would agree with you. if I would say that Cincinnati would make it past the Pittsburgh game. Without Andy Dalton, I just don't think they'll have enough. If Andy Dalton was still in at the beginning of the playoffs, I'd probably have the same bracket as you. However, I do not. I have Kansas City and Arizona. This one it could also be a really fun game to watch. You got two top defenses. You got the offenses going. This one I think could come down to either way. I think Arizona would take the edge in it, considering they've been in the Super Bowl a lot more recent than Kansas City has been. They still got some players from their last Super Bowl run with Fitzgerald, especially, who's a huge leader on that team. He's going to tell them what's up. He's going to make sure everyone's focused. They got their mindset. I believe that would be the deal breaker there. I'm going to take Arizona to win the Super Bowl this year.
Plus, in your situation, if I was looking at it, I would take Palmer over Alex Smith any day.
I went right off Alex Smith. He was he's a game manager.
Exactly.
All they get in the lead, he's not going to lose the lead more times than not. He's not going to make those stupid throws. Or he's not going to force it when it doesn't need to be forced.
All right, so this is our brackets. We'll bring it up closer to you real quick. There you go. See this? There you go. I'll back it out a little. There we go.
Like we said, we will take a nice clean picture, and you'll be able to see it up on the website and on Facebook.
All right, so I'd like to thank you all for watching or listening or reading or whatever you end up doing. Don't forget to check out our website, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
Tell your friends. Yeah. That's it.